PhD student in the University Côte d'Ivoire in France. So today I will talk about how evaluate the benefits of promoting intermodality and active modes in urban transport using a microsimulation approach. This study is evaluated by me and my supervisor, Professor Mons. So for this study, I will start with the problem and the objectives. Then I will identify the different steps to create a microsimulation transport model. Then I will evaluate the effect of a base case scenario on congestion and of the active modes and the public transport on congestion and emission. So lately, it has been noticed that the use of private cars became more and more excessive, which make the road transport one of the main sources of fine particle emission sites. This is why several cities around the world are regulating the access to the city center in the main is to create low emission zones. To study this type of problem, nowadays, transport modeling and simulation became more and more available tools for planning urban areas. As I'm interested to study the micromobility, including active modes, public transport, and intermodality, the microsimulations has several advantages here. So, thus far, and at the international levels, we have that most urban trips are short distance. For example, in France, 40% of trips are less than 3 kilometers, where 10% are less than 1 kilometers. The uses of cars for this type of trips is not desirable, and this is why we encourages the switch of the car by the active modes and the public transport. And the public transport for the short distance, and to combine between both of them for the long distance. Throughout their numerous advantages, for example, the active modes can be a reason to keep good health, and he didn't create more pollutions, and also it's a mode that didn't need high travel cost. Also, the intermodality can be used to encourages the public transport users in urban areas, and also it can be a feeders of the public transport network in underserved areas. Also, it is her travel cost. It's more cheaper than using a car. So the objective of our study is to set forth the different steps to build a microsimulation transport model as a first step, then to evaluate the effects of a model shift towards sustainability mobility while integrating an intermodal system. So for this, we will follow the different steps of the framework SIMO to create our base case scenario. Then we will calibrate it, and we will evaluate the different scenarios and compare the situations and compare the different situations, different scenarios. So for a comprehensive transport model, this workflow represents the different steps to construct and modelize a transport models. So we start with the importation of the network. Then we have create our demand, and when we talk about the demand here, we talk about the origin distance matrix. After that, each user should choose their modes, their routes, and also their departure time. As we know, all users have the same objective, is to minimize their travel cost, but and this is why they will choose the shortest routes. And if all of them choose the shortest routes, that will create a high level congestion, especially in the main trips of the cities, the main routes, sorry, of the cities. So here, as several some user can improve their period of travel, and here we can talk of a traffic equilibrium. And traffic equilibrium can be realized when some users avoiding the main roads of the cities and use the links around the front of cities. And this step will be repeated until the model will be calibrated. Then we can use it to examine different scenarios. So for this study, we choose to work with spider cities because I'm interested by the European cities, and as we know, the European cities is considered as spider cities. So this network is adapted from the city Mons and Belgium. And when I say adapted from the city Mons and Belgium, I talk about the size of the cities, of the network of the cities, where the area here is equal to 146.6 square kilometers. As we have seen there in these figures, in this network, there is 5 circumferential roads and 8 radial roads, and I use the net generate to import this network. But we can also use different tools to create or import this network, like for example, to create mainly the XML5 or files of CMO, or to create it with netted. And also we can use an external script by using, for example, OSMNX PY of Python to create this network. So after importing the main edges, we can also modify it by added some connections or some specific lanes, like the sidewalks and cycle paths, and also we can add the bus station. So, and now we will pass to how we generate the trips. So to generate the demand of these models, we use a gravitational-like models. And and when we talk about the gravitational-like models, so as we move away from the city centers, the frequency of activity will decrease, and the frequency of householding will increase. Also, we have created four bus lines in the main roads, and 4 transport modes were taken into account: is the walk, bike, public transport, and here we talk about the bus and the private car. Also, 3 groups of household were taken into account in these models: the home to work and the home school work. And here I'm talking about for example, a couple which should take her children to the school before work and something like this. And the 3rd group is home to work, and there is another activity after or before the work. So This screenshot exhibits the multimodal transport with the cars, buses, and pedestrians. So, in this simulation, we create 10,000 car trips, and we simulated during 4 hours. And for the choose of the shortest routes, here we use the georouter tools of Mons. And as we say, the shortest the choice of the georouter, the choice of the shortest route can create a high-level congestion, and to calibrate this this situation, we have the choice of between the tools one shot and iterate. And in our study, on this study, we use the one shot tool because here we are talking about a literal city and not a real city. But I think, and what I'm working on now, for the real city, it will be better to use iterate. After calibrating this model, the model is particularly flexible, and the input data can be quickly adjusted to produce new outputs. So, as I say here, I'm interested by the emissions and congestion output, and this is why this table resumes the fuel consumption and emissions gases for the base case scenario. And also, I found that more than 30% of trips here is less than 5 kilometers. And as I say, for the beginning, the use of the cars for this type of trips, it's not desirable. And this is why I propose like a second scenario to switch to the walk for the short distance and the intermodality, which combine the walk with the bus for a long distance. And to calculate the probability of a person who will switch to the alternative modes, I use this logistic expression where A and nu are the positive parameters. dE is the travel distance and d0 is a distance threshold. And with this expression, the lower the travel distance, the higher the probability a car users may be likely to switch to the alternative modes. Running the simulations, we found that there is a significantly decrease of not only for the level of congestion, but also for the emissions gas and the fuel consumption. Like we say here, for the fuel consumption, there is a decrease of a factor of 28, and for example, for the emissions, the CO2, it decreases by a factor of 30%. And for this scenario, for the results of congestion, we have many factors which we can take into account. Like here, I have the average travel time. And also we can take into account the average speed or something like this. So in this scenario, we have that the average travel time decreases by approximately a factor of 13. It decreases from 8 minutes per vehicle to 5.6 minutes per vehicle. So as a third scenario, here in this scenario, we included bike. So for the short distance and biking and bus for the long distance. Based on the expression of the logistic model, in this scenario, we will have 30% of cars switch to biking and bus, 10% switch to walking and bus, 8% to the biking, and only 5% to the walk. So when we talk about intermodality, biking, which combined biking and bus, here we have the problem of the parking of bike. So in this model, we assume that there is a bike station near the bus station, and I will show you later in a small video how I assume it. So this is some bases of how I create the XML file, including how I include the biking in the XML file by change the bit type of person tree by bike, or the other one for the intermodality and bike sharing system. So this it doesn't work. This is a small video, but I don't know why it doesn't work. Oh, okay. So here the user stop for some seconds, and here where we assume that there is a bike station, because until now I think there is not the tool how we added a bike station in Sumo near the bus stations, and if we follow it there, he will wait the bus until he arrived to the approach station of the destination. And now this is normally the second bus station that bike station that we assumed. And so the results of this simulation showed that also biking can be a tool to decrease the high level congestion and also the emissions and the fuel consumptions. For example, for emissions of fine particle PMX and NOx drops by about 20%. The fuel consumption decreases by 33%, and as I say, there is a significant decrease in congestion and in the duration of the rush hour. But when bikes and cars share the same roads, and recording the literal review that we have on bicycle, this can increase the risk of accident in the network, or in the road, or something like this. And this is why we proposed like first scenario to include a cycle path. Sorry, there is another video, but I think it can. Okay, normally the second screen and the right, it's a video, but can't work. But the idea here is to include the cycle paths in the main roads of the cities, and in the main is to improve the route security. But when we show the emissions and fuel consumption results, we found that also bicycle line or cycle paths anyway can also decrease the high level of congestion, and as I say, I included in the main roads of cities, so can decrease the high level of congestion in the main roads of cities, and also can decreases the level of pollutions and the fuel consumption, like we say in this table. For example, for the fuel, in the first scenario, it decreased by a factor of 28, and in the scenario with the cycle pass, it decreased by a factor of 48.6. And it's similar for the other factors of emissions gas. So to conclude here, by this study, we found that microsimulation is possible for cities of medium size, and this is why what I'm working on today for my thesis. I'm working for the same models, but now I didn't import just literal cities like this, but I'm working on the cities of Dunkirk in France. This model also it can provide us interesting insights for policies with large innovations. Also, we can conclude that active modes and public transport can significantly reduce the total travel cost. And here, when we talk about the total travel cost, I want to take into account, I didn't calculate it, but it's possible to do it. Here I will include the price of fuel and the price of the emissions, because in the international website there is the price of these factors. So it's possible to calculate the total travel cost. For the future research, as I say, a transport model of the city of Dunkirk is being developed to study several scenarios. Also, by this model, a Downs-Thomson paradox can be developed to solve the problem of the bus station locations. And the bus station location using the SEMO framework, sure. And also a scenario which take into account electric vehicle can be examined throughout the development of solar panel barriers that provide clean energy source. And here we need another tools with SEMO to include the effect of the solar panel barriers, and we can also explore new scenarios like the urban logistics using these models. That's all. Thank you for your attention.